My wife had an affair with her coworker. I'm in desperate need of help and advice. I, 28M, found out that my wife, 28F, had an affair with her former supervisor, 35M, at work who's married himself with kids. We've been married for 5 years, and we're high school sweethearts. We were each other's first relationship and first everything. When we were little kids, we were even neighbors. She has always been there. We both came from broken homes, but we always had each other, and we created something different than what we grew up seeing, or at least that's what I thought. Maybe I was just one big idiot the entire time. I still work remote while my wife has since gone back to being in person. There's not many women in her field, and she used to vent to me a lot that her job was more in line with a boys' club. Her AP, who was still her supervisor at the time, was one of the good ones supposedly and looked out for my wife at work. Recently, my wife received a promotion and I was so happy for her. She was now a supervisor herself. This came some new responsibilities such as having to take a few business trips during the year. Her first trip happened last week, Wednesday through Friday. Before she left, I told her that I'd be rooting for her from home, and she told me that she'd be leaving her heart with me and to take care of it. That's something she always says to me whenever we have to be apart. On Monday, she came home from work early. I could immediately tell that something was wrong. She looked overwhelmed, and there was a red mark on her right cheek. My wife is pale and tends to bruise easily. I asked her what happened, but she only asked me to hug her, said she just wanted to feel my embrace. I hugged her, and after a few moments, she proceeded to say there was an incident at work. She sat me down on the couch and made the confession that has destroyed me and completely uprooted my life. She had sex with her former supervisor on the team lead trip. I couldn't even process it first. It was like I was watching it happen to someone else, or like she was going to reveal it was a cruel joke. I think I would have accepted the cruel joke over reality. I was quiet during her whole confession, not saying one word. I was just in shock. Cheating is a sensitive topic for me, as it is for a lot of people. My own family was wrecked by an affair my dad had. I'm the one who caught him cheating and told my mom. My dad and I's relationship is not good at all because he blames me for ruining the family and he has never forgiven me. My wife saw what cheating did to my family and knew how much it tore me apart. Heck, she's seen me cry over this back when we were teens and she comforted me. And then she turns around and does this to me? To us? Apparently, the man's own wife found out and confronted her husband and my wife at work. It was a big scene with employees and customers all present. The woman had called my wife a bad person and slapped her. After the slap, other employees started interfering and the woman was escorted out of the building. My wife then called her older sister, 30F. In her words, she said her sister scolded her and told her that she needed to tell me about the affair and that I needed to hear it from her. I still never said a word, and she asked me to please say something. The only thing I could muster up to say in the moment was I needed her to tell me what happened on the trip. She said on the second day of the trip, she went out for drinks with the other team leads and that the group stayed out late and she felt like she needed to participate for a team bonding experience. Throughout the night, each team lead wandered off until it was only her and her former supervisor left and they went back to his room to listen to music. I kept complimenting her and telling her how beautiful she was, and that if it were me, I couldn't keep my hands off her. He eventually kissed her. My wife told me that she doesn't know what happened to her, and that she wasn't thinking clearly, but she let him keep kissing her, which then turned into something more. They progressed to having sex. I didn't want any more details because I couldn't take it and I got up off the couch, telling her to stop. She reached out to take my hand, but I moved away and told her not to touch me. She broke down crying and started profusely apologizing and begging for forgiveness, saying how it was the biggest mistake of her life, that she hates herself, and she wishes she could take it back. She kept repeating how much she loves me and only me. That the alcohol clouded her judgment. I told her she needed to leave, she needed to call her sister to pick her up. She got up from the couch, crying even more, and tried to hug me, but I moved away again. She begged me not to do this, saying all kinds of stuff like she will quit her job, give me full access to her phone, saying we'll do counseling. I couldn't keep it together. I told her if she wasn't going to leave the house then I would. I didn't even stop to pack a bag or anything, but just went for the door. She grabbed my arm, I guess, to try to stop me from leaving, and kept pleading for me not to do this, and saying after everything we've been through that this can't be the end of us. Despite everything, seeing her in that state and leaving her behind while she was crying still tore me apart because I love her. I love her more than I ever thought was possible to love someone else. But she broke me. She tossed our entire life and future away. I ended up going to my mom's house, and that's currently where I'm staying. I don't know how I kept my senses during the drive, but when I arrived, I just cried. I don't even think my mom has even seen me cry as a teen or an adult. The only person who's ever seen me cry is my wife. I did tell my mom what happened because I honestly didn't know how to keep it from her with me showing up at her place in that way. She was broken-hearted over it. She and my wife always got along. My mom treated her like a daughter. That was their relationship. She didn't pass any judgment, but said I could stay as long as I needed and tried to offer some words of comfort. Ever since I left, my wife has been blowing up my phone with calls and texts, but I haven't answered or wrote back. The texts have basically just been begging me to come home and to talk with her, asking where I am, and to please not give up on us. I just feel so broken. I thought I knew what this pain was like, but it's nothing compared to experiencing it yourself. I never thought my wife would do something like this. I always had the belief that there was no coming back from cheating for me, that the relationship would be over, but now I keep thinking if I should give our relationship another chance, go to counseling together and try to salvage the relationship. I keep thinking back to all the history we have, how much I love her, how we always felt like matching puzzle pieces, and how when I thought I had no one, she was there. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to proceed. I'm at a loss. Comments. 1. How did the supervisor's wife figure out that her husband had a one-night stand? This affair wasn't a one-off, it had been happening for a while and his wife figured it out. Write that woman a thank you and serve your wife with divorce papers. You can choose to reconcile or not after she knows you will absolutely divorce her. 2. That was not the first time. The other people didn't just drift away, they waited everybody out. She never would have told you if she hadn't been caught. How would AP's wife had known if they had just returned from the trip? She no doubt had information that she collected over time. Think about it. How did his wife find out? She had to have collected more than that isolated event. 3. Nobody gets caught the first time that they cheat. WW and her supervisor are quite likely a well-established couple at work functions. OP needs a lawyer, STD tests, and a workable exit strategy. She's just another cheat who got caught. 4. This is an underrated comment. Legal help and STD testing would be very high on my priority list right now. 5. That's how the BW knew to confront OP's wife. This has been going on for a while and BW has been collecting evidence. AP probably was more careless and got caught. You want the truth? If she is so interested in salvaging her marriage, have her take a polygraph. You will squeeze the truth out one way or another. 6. I'll put my entire bank account on the fact that she was promoted so that he couldn't get in trouble for having relations with his employees, so he made her his equal. You reap what you sow. She knew how this would affect you and still didn't care enough. I am so sorry, OP. 7. I think the two of them, WW and her AP, won't be working for their employer for very much longer. Company bean counters tend to look very unfavorably towards employees who needlessly put them at financial risk. 8. You touched on a question I asked myself repeatedly. What I wished I would have asked my wife before leaving. Even if you felt like you had to go out with these guys to bond, then why did you continue to stay as one by one they each left until it was just you and AP? At any point, you could have called it a night like the others were doing. I am planning on trying to speak with the AP's wife. I know I need to hear what she has to say in order to get a clearer picture. She doesn't have an agenda to lie or withhold whatever information she has from me. I have found one of her Facebook account and I'm initially going to reach out on Messenger. I know the general area of where her and her family lives in town, but I don't think it would be for the best for me to just show up there. If there's a chance that AP could be there, then I don't need to risk bumping into him, especially with how I am feeling right now. If I was being honest, the thought of what the AP's wife has to share is ripping me further apart. I met her twice before, and while I don't know her well, she was a fairly quiet and reserved person. The way my wife described the confrontation on Monday sounded like someone who had reached their breaking point. She has to have a lot more insight than I do at the moment. 9. This sounds like trickle truth. You are being told the minimum that she thinks she can get away with. And only because the affair has become public and she fears you will be told. Do not believe that this story is true nor complete. Has she quit that job? I will bet not. Although she may be fired soon. 10. I keep thinking if I should give our relationship another chance, go to counseling together and try to salvage the relationship. You do realize if her AP's wife hadn't raised a she'll show their work, she never would have told you? And that it's the first time and blaming a few drinks is telling you what you want to hear. If you can log into her Google/iCloud accounts on your laptop plus all her social accounts, you will probably dig up a long history between them. Yes, you love her more than anything, obviously, that is a one-way street. Do what you want, counseling, whatever, but prepare for the worst.